The real reason your dog pulls on walks and how to calm it without force. This video is for general dog training education and is not a substitute for help from a qualified trainer or veterinarian, especially if your dog's pulling is connected to fear, pain, or strong reactivity. Every bad walk feels like proof that your dog is ignoring you. But most of the time, that is not what is happening. What looks like disobedience is often just a habit that has been rehearsed so many times, it now runs automatically. Your dog sees something exciting, the body leans forward, the leash tightens. And if that forward rush still leads to the smell, the tree, the dog, or the open patch of grass, the lesson is simple. Pulling works. That is the part most owners miss. The leash problem is usually not about attitude. It is about what the dog has learned gets results. And once you see that clearly, the solution changes. Because now the goal is no longer to overpower the dog. The goal is to change the pattern. At Mr. Hidden Mind, that is where everything starts. When you understand the mind behind the behavior stops looking random. And leash pulling is one of the best examples of that. A lot of owners try to solve pulling with more force, more talking, or more frustration. They repeat commands, they yank back, they tighten the leash early, they brace their whole body the second the dog speeds up. But tension often creates more tension. Many dogs naturally push into pressure. So the more resistance they feel, the more they lean into it. Not because they are trying to win, but because their body is already engaged before calm thinking has a chance to return. That is why some walks become more chaotic the longer they go on. You are trying to slow the dog down. The dog is getting more stimulated, and the leash becomes the signal that excitement is rising. So instead of asking, how do I stop my dog from pulling? Ask a better question. What is my dog learning every time the leash gets tight? That question changes everything. Because if the answer is, my dog still gets where it wants to go, then the pulling is being reinforced. And if the answer is, tension makes the walk pause, but calm movement gets the world moving again, then you are finally teaching something useful. That is the shift. Not punishment, not a battle, a cleaner consequence. Before you train the walk, fix the setup. This part matters more than people think. Some tools quietly train the wrong lesson. A retractable leash teaches many dogs that living at the end of pressure is normal. A poorly fitted back clip harness can make forward driving easier. An overlong leash in a busy environment can create constant disorder. And a flat collar on a dog that surges hard can turn every walk into discomfort without clarity. A better starting point for many dogs is a properly fitted front clip harness and a regular fixed leash. Not because it magically trains the dog, because it gives you a cleaner learning environment. When the leash connects at the chest, strong forward pulling is less efficient. The dog loses some of that straight line momentum. That small mechanical change makes it easier for the dog to notice the consequence of their own movement. And that is what you want, not intimidation, not pain, just less chaos, more information. Now let's talk about the moment that actually changes the walk. The leash goes tight. What happens next is the lesson. Most owners react emotionally there, but the best response is usually the simplest one. Stop moving. Not with drama, not with a correction speech, not with anger. Just stop. Let the environment go still for a second. Your dog may keep leaning. They may look confused. They may try harder for a moment. That is fine. You are not trying to scare the dog out of pulling. You are showing that pulling no longer makes the walk continue. Then the instant the leash softens, mark it and move. That timing matters. Do not wait for your dog to perform a perfect heel. Do not wait for 10 seconds of eye contact. Do not ask for too much at the start. If the leash softens even briefly, that is information worth rewarding. Because early training is not about polished behavior, it is about clarity. Your dog needs to feel the difference between these two worlds. In one world, rushing forward works. In the new world, calm movement works. That contrast has to be crystal clear. Now here is where many people accidentally slow their own progress. They only react when the dog makes a mistake. That creates a strange walk where all the owner's attention appears only after pulling begins. Instead, start rewarding the moments you want more of before they disappear. A few steps beside you with a loose leash, a calm check-in, a softer pace, a natural turn back in your direction. Catch those moments early. A good walk is built from small, successful repetitions, not from one big correction. This is where real progress starts to show, because your dog begins to realize that staying mentally connected to you is useful, not because you forced it, because that is where good things keep happening. And there is another practical insight that helps a lot. Not every dog is pulling for the same reason. Some dogs pull from pure excitement. Some pull because the environment is overwhelming. Some pull because they have learned that the walk begins in a state of over-arousal. Some pull because no one ever taught them what a relaxed leash is supposed to mean. Those dogs do not all need the exact same pacing. An overexcited young dog may need short sessions with frequent resets. A nervous dog may need more distance and quieter routes. A highly social dog may need help learning that seeing another dog does not automatically mean rushing toward it. Same outward behavior, different internal drivers. That is why smart training is never just mechanical, it is observational. Watch what happens right before the pulling starts. Does it happen at the front door? At the first patch of grass? When another dog appears? Halfway through the walk? At every corner? Only on the way home? Those patterns matter, because they tell you where the dog is losing control of the moment. And when you know where the pattern starts, you can interrupt it earlier. For example, many owners wait until the dog is already fully pulling toward another dog. That is late. The better moment is often a few seconds earlier. The stare gets longer, the neck extends, the pace changes, the body becomes stiffer, the mouth closes, the dog stops hearing you. That is the real beginning of the problem. If you act there by creating distance or changing direction, you are still working with a thinking dog. If you wait until the dog is lunging, you are now dealing with a much more aroused state. This single change helps more than people realize. Do not just react to pulling. Learn to notice the buildup before it happens. That is how walks become calmer. Now, let's talk about a mistake almost nobody explains clearly. Many owners mix too many goals into one walk. They want training, exercise, sniffing, social exposure, impulse control, perfect leash manners, and emotional calm, all at once. That is a lot to ask, especially from a dog that already starts the walk overstimulated. So separate your walks by purpose when you can. Some walks can be training focused, shorter, clearer, more structured. Some can be decompression walks in the right setting, where sniffing is encouraged and pressure is lower. Some can be simple potty breaks without big expectations. This reduces conflict because the dog gets a clearer picture of what kind of outing this is, and clarity reduces frustration for both of you. Another thing that matters is pace. Owners often underestimate how much walking speed influences leash tension. If your dog is energetic and you are moving slowly without giving the dog a clear job, the dog may forge ahead. If your dog is uncertain and you are marching too fast through a busy environment, the dog may tighten from stress, so pay attention to rhythm. Sometimes the answer is not a stronger correction. Sometimes the answer is a better pace, a better route, and a shorter session that ends with success. That is real training. Not doing more, doing the right amount at the right level. And here is one of the most useful real-world upgrades you can make. Use the environment as a reward. Your dog wants to sniff the bush, reach the lamppost, move toward the tree? Great, but not on a tight leash. Wait for softness, then release forward. Now the dog learns a much deeper lesson. Self-control opens access, not force, not lunging, not dragging you. That is powerful because it uses real life, not just treats, to reinforce the behavior. Food still matters, but the world itself can become part of the reward system. And that makes training more practical outside the house. Now, what if your dog does well one day and badly the next? That is normal. Progress is rarely smooth. Dogs are affected by sleep, stress, stimulation, routine changes, health, and environment. A louder street, a windy day, a new route, or a near miss with another dog can change the whole quality of a walk. Do not read every setback as failure. Read it as information. Maybe the environment was too difficult. Maybe the session went too long. Maybe your timing got late. Maybe your dog needed more distance than usual. Good training does not panic when the picture gets messy. It adjusts. And if more than one person walks the dog, everyone has to follow the same leash rules. This part is not optional. A dog can learn that pulling works with one person and does not work with another. That does not confuse the dog. it educates the dog. So if one handler stops on leash tension and another handler keeps moving, the dog will simply pull when the second person is holding the leash. Consistency is what turns a good idea into a reliable habit. Without consistency, you do not have a system. You have mixed signals, and mixed signals slow everything down. So if you want the walk to improve, think in layers. First, reduce the physical setup that makes pulling easy. Second, make tight leash stop progress. Third, reward calm movement before the dog falls apart. Fourth, notice what triggers the pulling before it escalates. And fifth, keep the rules consistent enough that the dog gets the same answer every time. That is how you build a different walk, not in one perfect day, but over many clear repetitions. And the most important change is not just that the leash gets looser, it is that the walk feels different. Less friction, less conflict, less constant correction. Your dog begins to move with more awareness. You begin to react with more precision. And the walk stops feeling like something you survive. It starts to feel like something you shape. That is when the relationship changes. Because the dog is no longer practicing chaos. The dog is practicing regulation. So if your dog keeps pulling, remember this. The solution is not to become stronger than the dog. The solution is to become clearer than the habit. At Mr. Hidden Mind, we are not here to chase loud tricks or quick fixes. We look beneath the behavior. We find the pattern that keeps it alive, and we replace it with something better. If this gave you a more useful way to think about leash pulling, pass it on to someone who needs calmer walks and a clearer system. And remember this, what the dog repeats becomes the dog's normal. What you reinforce becomes the future. This is Mr. Hidden Mind.